Alright, Shalom. First and foremost, all praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh, Bashem Yahushai, Bashem Rakakwadash, double honors to our apostles and elders of genius, great master, who teach and rule well, and continue to teach and rule well through His Spirit and the power of Yahweh, Bashem Yahushai. Peace, love, and salutations to that came in four corners of this earth, pushing His word with all truth and sincerity. To Speckle Barakim and Akwat over there, who are tuned in, listening and learning with hopes of being delivered by Yahweh Bashem Yahushai from the pending peril that's about to unfold upon the earth. This is Nahal from the Jamaica camp. As you can see, war in the breadbasket, they shall think themselves to be in a good case. Pursuant to 2 Ezra chapter 16, verse 21. Behold, victuals shall be so good cheap upon earth, that they shall think themselves to be in a good case. And even then shall evils grow upon the earth, sword, famine, and great confusion. The word victuals, let's get the definition of the word victuals. It says, food and provisions. So behold, food and provisions shall be so good cheap upon earth, that they shall think themselves to be in a good case. And right now, food and provision is at an affordable price or an unaffordable rate upon the earth right now. So people, they do think themselves to be in a good case. A lot of persons are working, they're able to make just a little above, what they need to pay for bills that they can play with and go to the supermarkets and purchase their favorite snacks, the different sweets and the different junk foods that they love, that they like to, carry home and binge watch their favorite movie, Netflix series on. So they do think, themselves to be in a good case for the most part, because a lot of persons are suffering still. A lot of persons do find it hard to get by for each day, but for the majority of it, again, because victuals are so good cheap upon earth, they think themselves to be in a good case, right? And even then shall evils grow upon the earth, sword, famine, great confusion. Because right now, you know, behind the scenes, and I say behind the scenes because our people, the Israelites, the so-called niggers, Latinos, and Native Americans, and the world on a whole, are being distracted by social media, by different, entertainment and internet gossips, and their favorite sports, sport teams, and their favorite celebrities and public figures. They are being distracted or sidetracked by, you know, these different factors, which are all put in place by the devil, Esau, Edom, the elites of this world, who behind the scenes are breaking, the economy on a whole, so that they can bring forth their new world order, which may come with a great reset. We hear, the founder of the World Economic Forum, Klaus Schwab, speak of that a whole lot. They speak of the fourth industrial revolution as well. That, that devil even wrote a book on it. But the main point is that, even then, while our people are distracted, not knowing of the evils that are going on in the background, just because they may be able to go to the supermarkets, they may be able to again enjoy their favorite Netflix series while binge watching, just binge watching while eating their favorite snack. They are not considering that that comfortable life will soon be taken away. It will soon be taken away, and we will be plunged into a time frame that's only that is predicated upon just constant survival, you know, constant fighting, physical fighting and mental fighting and spiritual fighting for survival of the fittest. They don't, because things are so easy. They can go to work, leave work, be paid, you know, party, buy their favorite nicest clothes, this and that and the third, because they're comfortable, right? They're not looking or considering that discomfort may be taken away soon. And very soon it will be taken away. Those who are watching, they see how close we are to what preppers or truthers would call shit hitting the fan. and shit hitting the fan is basically all out chaos. When the economy does fail, the dollar does fail, you know, World War III does kick off as well. Food insecurity, global food insecurity is on an all-time high, which that's what I'm touching on right now, the food insecurity, you know. So shit will hit the fan, and all these things will build on the earth. The sword, which the sword represents, as Second Ezra 15 and 14 says, I have it and just jump to it real quick. It says, for the it says, a man, Second Ezra 15 and 19, a man shall have no pity upon his neighbor, but shall destroy their houses with the sword, and spoil their goods because of the lack of bread, and for a great tribulation. And when you jump to verse 16, it says, for there shall be sedition among men, and invading one another. They shall not regard their princes, and the course of their actions shall stand in their power, and their power will be again the sword, which the sword will be those AKs, those Glocks, machetes, and with whatsoever power they have in their hand, if it's an AK, they will feel powerful. Yeah. They will do whatsoever they want. Kick in your door, rob you, take your food, probably take you as well, you know, take the woman as well, just for, just thinking about some post-apocalyptic type shit, just for probably a sex slave until, they've had enough, whatsoever. But it may sound fictional, but I can guarantee you that it isn't. It is going to happen. As does say the scripture, right? And why? Because of the lack of bread. So that food insecurity is coming. So the sword is coming. Famine and great confusion, and what's about to hit the earth is great confusion. The only persons who will not be confused are those who, basically made the Lord Yahweh Shai their refuge, as it says in Isaiah chapter 33, verse 6. It says, wisdom and knowledge shall be the stability of thy time. And this is for only the Israelites, the elect at that, the elect of the nation of Israel, which we hope we're a part of. Only them will be able to be stable in those times. Right? It says, and wisdom and knowledge shall be the stability of thy times, and strength of salvation. So the wisdom and the knowledge that we have from the Heavenly Father will be what stabilizes us and give us strength. Right? And it says here, the fear of the Lord is his treasure, because our treasure, what Lord willing, we are a part of that elect, but the elect's treasure will be the fear of the Lord, and with the fear of the Lord comes wisdom and knowledge. Proverbs chapter 1, verse 7, the beginning of knowledge is the fear of the Lord. But it goes on to say, behold, the valiant ones shall cry without, the ambassadors of peace shall weep bitterly. So those who are strong and mighty, those who are hard as nails, who have gone through the worst of the worst, they've seen the grimiest of the grimy, they're gonna cry without, and that without is with, basically no one being there to comfort them, right? So that's what we're headed into. So this is the article that I wanted to bring out. It says war in the breadbasket 1 year in. We're going into the war, the quote unquote war in Ukraine, and basically it breaks down how affected the global food chain, has, or the global food supply has been affected, how severely it has been affected by this war. Right, and I'm just gonna bring out a few points and then leave it there. It says, just get to the point. All right. So how the war has impacted global food supplies. Violent conflict has been the main driver of an increase in global food insecurity. And check this. This is global food insecurity, and I'm gonna bring out a point on this within this same article, right? It says that started some 8 years ago. The impact, and you see how long it started, and that's the thing. Things just don't. Situations, chaotic situations don't just pop up out of nowhere. It usually starts. It usually has a starting point. Till it just slowly, gradually builds up. The term is called gradualism. It gradually builds up until it reaches its peak, right? And it will reach its peak, right? And the prophets of the Lord have been speaking about it ever since. Ever since the Heavenly Father gave them utterance, beginning with our elders and apostles of James on down. Like-minded men who are outside of James, but are pushing the true gospel, or one true doctrine of Yahushua, which is the 100% true. You have been told about pending food crisis, basically about famine overall, because it will lead up to famine. It will lead up to rationing, and then it will lead up to the famine. It says the impact has primarily been felt in the countries where the conflict occurs. Indeed, the world's worst food crises are persistently found in conflict-affected areas. Right? The war in Ukraine has broken this pattern. While it has led to a significant spike in food insecurity in Ukraine, it has also had a major impact on global supply chains and international trade in food and fertilizer. This is undoubtedly part of the reason why potentially 50 million more people, the majority of them outside Ukraine, may have become severely food insecure since the invasion. You know, and I don't need to read it again. The link to this is in the description box, but you see how many people have been severely affected, and the mainstream media won't show this, right? And because we live we may live in a small, areas, that's not highly populated. We may not know, may be seeing these numbers here, but the numbers are real. It says by June 2022, the war had already resulted in total damage of between US 2.2 billion and 6.4 billion on the agriculture sector in Ukraine. The World Food Programme reported in December 2022 that over 25% of previously cultivated areas were estimated to have been rendered unproductive due to the presence of landmines and unexploded ordnances. And this just shows you how severely war affects the food supply. And a global war will happen, a World War III. And this is just a rumor of war. It tells us in Matthew 24, where the Son of the Heavenly Father, whose true name is Yahushua, and the Heavenly Father's true name is Yahweh. The Son of the Heavenly Father told his disciples to look out for signs of his return, and wars and rumors of wars, was included in the list of things that they were to look out for. Now we're hearing of wars and rumors of wars, right? It's like a plug this universe, right? It's like it's just a sec. Alright, totally about Shosha. Right, so yeah, we have been hearing about wars and rumors of wars. The rumors goes into news reports, reports being made of war. And that goes into all of the reports we have been hearing, as well as us blowing the trumpets of war. You know, um, it says, I'm just jump down a bit. It says, it says, as well as the damage to Ukraine's agriculture sector, the war has prevented large quantities of food and livestock feed products from reaching global supply chains. And when you talk about the global supply chain, just to let you know, Jamaica imports 90% of its resources, and that speaks to food as well. So if products are having a hard time to reach the global supply chain, you know, imagine how much Jamaica will be able to get as import. But the icing is yet to be laid on the cake. It says, you get it right now, it says some 32 countries, right, imposed restriction on food export during 2022. And that's what I wanted to bring up when I told you to pay attention to this right here, where it says, uh, are global food insecurity and increasing global food insecurity. The thing is, this is being globally, countries have been affected by this food insecurity, which will lead to this. Some 32 countries imposed restriction on food exports during 2022. I know China did as well. Just aims at protecting domestic food security, their home for food security, local food security, as global market prices soared and food supplies were disrupted, right? So there you have it, your countries are gonna start to be for themselves. So for countries that import, the majority of their food resources, they're just gonna be um, severely affected negatively in that aspect, yo. But overall, what's happening is the Heavenly Father, He's breaking the entire staff of bread, the entire support of food, so eventually globally the entire world will be engulfed in this time of famine. Isaiah chapter 3 verse 1, for behold the Lord Yahweh of hosts will take away from Jerusalem and from Judah the stay and the staff, the whole stay of bread and the whole stay of water. And the stay represents support. Bread, that's food, water, that's water, I mean water, that's water. So the Heavenly Father is removing the support of food, and it starts with what? It starts with the agriculture, as it says right here, um, 2 Ezra 6 and 22. And suddenly shall the sown places of your unsown, the full storehouses shall suddenly be found empty, and that's the farms. Farms are being affected right now. I mean, and eventually, if the crops are not growing, then the storehouses, which are the supermarkets, will soon run out of food, right? And this suddenly, it isn't really suddenly, it's only suddenly, it will only seem sudden to those who, as it says right here, they shall think themselves to be in a good case. Yeah, it will not seem sudden to them, because as it says right here, then even then shall evils grow upon the earth, sword, famine, and greatest confusion. So if they were watching, they would be seeing these things happening, growing upon the earth. But because they're not, to them it will seem sudden, right? It says, just jump to second Esdras right here. So it says, so this is second Esdras chapter um, 15, chapter 15, verse verse 12. But before I get into it, there's a point that I want to bring out to this as well. Alright, just a sec. Just a sec, man. Alright, just a sec, Alright, so the ripple effects and the interaction. It says the situation has been made worse by a series of devastating weather-related events in 2022. That's again the Father, because the Father, he controls the weather. Ultimately Esau does, well, not ultimately, what Esau does have is harp system, these different technologies that they use to manipulate the weather. But again, the Esau Edom, they are the sword or the hand of the sword of David the Father, right? It says in Psalms, to protect me from thy wicked which thy sword, and Esau Edom is the wicked. It says the situation has been made worse by a series of devastating weather-related events in 2022. Drought, flooding in many countries has severely impacted local food production. Extreme weather during critical sowing and harvest periods also curtailed the ability of other major grain product countries and regions, including the EU and the United States, to make up for the shortfall of food exports from Ukraine to Russia and Russia. Uh, so the point is right here, Second Ezra 6, 15 verse 12 says, Egypt shall mourn, and the foundation of it shall be smitten with plague, and the punishment that the Father shall bring upon it. Egypt, spiritually called Solomon Egypt, that's America, It says, they that till the ground shall mourn. for their seeds shall fail through blasting and hail, and with fearful constellation. So the seeds are failing, fearful constellation, basically the signs of the time, going into the weather, how the weather seems, farmers are gonna start to, fear planting, because of how the weather stay. It's just not, good weather to plant at all, you know. Just go to the world and then tell them, don't get rain, because that's what's going to, go. Lamentation, more and go. So I'm gonna leave it there. Lord willing, this was informative, giving all praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh, Bashem, Shai, Bashem, Kampadash, the one store of muscles and others of James, Grim Stone. These salutations, the day